There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit ComicShopLocator.com to find a store near you.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Dan Wickline Show. Today we've got a special guest. He is the co-founder of Image Comics. He's the guy that originally made the Guardians of the Galaxy cool. He's the creator of Shadowhawk, The Pact, and Normal Man, and just a really all-around good guy. So let's bring in Mr. Jim Valentino.
Hey.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. You're trying to ruin my reputation there, so...
Oh, yeah, but anybody who gets to know you ruins that reputation, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well, it is good to see you. It's been a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are things up in, you're still up in Portland, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They're great. It's a beautiful day out today. We actually got some rain for the first time in almost 8 months, so.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You guys get a good amount of rain up there, don't you, normally?
Yeah, it's different than rain in most places. You know, in Southern California, when it rains, it's a deluge, right?
Yeah.
But here, the rain is kind of misty. So everybody just wears a hoodie and you're fine.
Nice. Yeah, I need to go spend more time in Portland. I think I've only driven through it. I haven't had a chance to really experience the city.
If you do come up, let me know. I'll give you my special 5-cent tour.
Oh, definitely. I will take you up on that. So, all right. I definitely want to talk about Shadowline and what you guys got coming up and stuff like that. But I'm kind of curious about something going on in the industry right now.
Okay.
Image started in 92. 94 is when everything changed with distribution. Marvel bought Heroes World. DC went exclusive with Diamond, and that just started all the dominoes to where we got the Diamond monopoly for a long time.
Right.
You know, so here we are almost 30 years later, and that's starting to finally break apart with DC having left Diamond. Now IDW just announced that they're moving to Penguin to do distribution. How do you see this? I mean, having already gone through one of the major changes, do you see this snowballing and maybe going back to where we've got a lot of distributors again, or where do you see this going?
Yeah, it's really hard to say. I mean, at this particular point, it seems like different publishers are going to different distributors. So that could be problematic for a lot of retailers. You know, how many distribution catalogs are they going to have to go through? And will they be willing to go through it for smaller companies? So, you know, they may be willing to go to one distributor for DC and one distributor for Marvel. But are they willing to go to a third distributor for Image or a fourth for IDW? And I think that's the real question. I don't think anyone knows the answer.
I mean, it used to be a little bit that way when you had like Capital and Friendly Franks and all these different.
But they all did the exact same books. So
right.
You have different terms at Capital or Diamond or Silver Snail or whatever. But they all distributed the same books, the same product. So the difference now is that it's becoming more specialized.
Right. Okay. So where before everybody carried the same book, so you just choose your distributor. Now you have to deal with all these little distributors or all these different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that being a real pain for the retailers. And
sure. And also retailers depend on sales to lower their margins for, you know, how many books they order means how far down their discounts go.
Right.
And so a larger store is going to get a better discount than a smaller store, right?
Yeah.
So now if it's all divided, it kind of reminds me in a lot of ways of the video games in the 1990s, where there were so many competing companies that the smaller ones almost had to fall. They had to fail.
Yeah.
the larger ones would take up that money and that distribution level and that kind of thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, do you see some of the smaller companies, and I've seen a lot of companies now switching to, I'm going to forget what the term for it is, but basically using crowdsourcing for their books, where you have people prepay for the books and do it that way. Do you, maybe some of these smaller publishers are going to shift more to that model, like some already have started?
Well, there again, you have a problem with how many, what kind of disposable income is actually out there and how many of these projects can actually be supported. Mm-hmm. So if you have somebody like, Joe, I'm a new guy, right? And he's up against somebody like, a Mark Silvestri.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work in Joe the new guy's favor at all. So again, it's a matter of quantity and how that affects attrition.
Well, it doesn't sound like this is very positive for the industry. But so why do you think the publishers are all splitting off? Is it just they can get better deals with these new distributors?
I guess. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure each one has their own answer. I wish I could be more, more insightful than that, but I think that's really kind of it. Each publisher is going to have their own answer as to why, they're leaving Diamond or going with this one or that one.
Okay. All right. That's just something that's been hitting me lately, and I figured if nobody better than you to talk to about this, Well,
we're just at another point of change, and our industry isn't the only one. I mean, almost every industry is going through a massive change as a result of the pandemic or the aftermath of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. So, we're just going through, one of them through a change.
Yeah, and we've been through quite a few of them. I mean, even before the Diamond thing, there was just the creation of the direct market, where everything was newsstands before that, or
right.
I mean, you can go all the way. I recently read Danny Fingeroth's book on Stan Lee and talking about all the decisions Martin Goodman made about where his distribution, owning a distributor, and then selling it and going through another company and. So yeah, I can see that. We have gone through a lot of those. Yeah.
I haven't read Danny's book yet, but I'm sure he's got a lot of insights that a lot of people don't have because he was in the middle of it. He saw it all firsthand. But you also have to remember in context, and I don't know if he talks about this or not, but in the early 60s, the distributor was owned by the parent company of DC. And so they limited Marvel's monthly output, which is why you saw 2 characters in one book and bi-monthly books, because if they were limited to 8 books, then they could do 16 by having 8 books come out one month, 8 different 8 books coming out another month. And they had to deal with that for quite a while.
Yeah. And also, from what I understand, a couple books were created solely to make sure they used all their slots because another book was running late, Daredevil being one of the prime examples of that. Wally Woods was running late on it, and Bill Everett was running late on the first issue, and they had to put something else in. And now I can't remember what the other thing was, but yeah. For some reason, I think it's the Avengers is actually
no. The Avengers came out in September '63. So the exact same month that the X-Men came out.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And Daredevil was later, I think 64 or so.
Well, yeah, but Daredevil was supposed to be earlier, and then they had to bump it because of Bill Everett not getting the book done on time.
Well, that could be because they said actually the X-Men was the one that they were planning, and the Avengers they threw together at the last minute, which is strange to me because I thought the Avengers was the book that X-Men, but
But yeah, I think that's why they threw it together because Daredevil was going to be late, and they didn't want to lose that slot.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and that worked out pretty well for Marvel. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Shadowline. My first question is, I mean, I look at the lineup of books that you've done over the years, and they're very impressive. I mean, some of them are award-winning books, and just all of them have a good, a high level of quality there. And I'm curious, what makes a Shadowline book to you? What is it when you're looking at a pitch, you go, yeah, that one or not that one? What are you looking for?
I'm looking for a good idea, well done. And that can mean anything. I don't look for genre necessarily. I look for a really interesting idea or something that I haven't seen before, something that's presented differently. Okay. I believe real strongly that good art will bring someone to a book, but a good story will bring them back. And so they're both really important to me. So it's the simplest pitch tells me that a writer knows what his book is about. That's the old Stan Lee axiom that if you can't explain your character or your concept in one sentence, you don't really understand it. You don't really know it. And it's true, So, there you go. I other than that, I can't really say. I just look for interesting concepts.
I remember you saying that in the past, and I kind of look at all my projects that way. It's not a project until I can boil it down to that one sentence, and I can pitch it in that one sentence.
Right.
And I know you don't mean like the Hollywood pitch, which is like, oh, it's this movie and that movie combined.
No. It's more like, I'll give you examples of a couple of the ones that I remember that are really just great pitches. One of them was, what if the Kennedys had superpowers?
Noble causes.
Right. I guess that would go to the Kardashians, although they're even more despicable than the Kennedys. It's the TV show Homicide, except they investigate the murders of superheroes.
Is that what Powers? Yeah.
There's one that was pitched to me that I really loved. They never finished it, which is too bad. But it's 15th century feudal Japan and the Vikings land. That's a story you want to read.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just because the visuals of it are just so strong. That concept is so strong.
Oh, yeah.
It never got finished, unfortunately. But, there you go.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Vikings fighting samurai.
Yeah. The whole idea is just like, wow, that's a great idea.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what Hollywood would call for.
What if the German scientists went to England and not the United States? And therefore, England would have been ahead in the space race. That's Ministry of Space by Warren Ellis and Chris Weston. Wonderful book.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say the pitch for The Walking Dead, but it was a terrible pitch. So I'm not going to go there.
I'll be honest. The Walking Dead, I mean, just from the way it built, I mean, there wasn't anything that felt original about it. I think it was just well done, and that people read it and really enjoyed it, and because it was one of the books that just kept gaining in sales every month, didn't it?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, it became
prior to it. No zombie book ever sold.
Yeah.
Zombie books always just stayed on the shelf. I think the difference is it wasn't a book about zombies. It was a book about people. And that was its strength. So it was a book about people in a dire situation. And I think that's what made it.
Which I find interesting, and this is completely off topic, but I was just, because What If is on the air, I've been doing a lot of research into What If and also the Marvel Zombies because of the recent episode. And Marvel Zombies is the opposite of that. So Kirkman did that with Walking Dead, and then he went over and focused on just the zombies, how the zombies interacted with Marvel Zombies.
Yeah. I never read Marvel Zombies, but yeah, they used to call those fans who would only buy Marvel Zombies, right? George Perez told me a great story. He said a kid came up to him at some convention when he had just started on the Teen Titans. And the kid said, "I really love your work, Mr. Perez, but I can't buy it anymore." And George said, "Why?" He goes, "Because you're working for DC and not Marvel, and I only buy Marvel." It's one of those. Yeah. But there you go. That's where Marvel Zombies came from. So,
yeah, I mean, I can understand liking a character or sticking to a character or a universe, but refusing to buy another universe, even though you like the creators, that just seems silly. I mean,
yeah. I've never been an either or guy. I find an absolute inability to root for the home team. So, I've always believed you can like this and you can like that. It's perfectly okay, which probably explains why I don't like sports. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I'm good with sports, but I'm not the trash talker or I hate that team or that team. It's like I like the teams I like, but I don't hate anybody else.
It's a good book, regardless where it came from.
Yeah.
And that's it, and to me, it always seems silly to say, I'll only buy this company or that company or whatever. I'll buy good stuff. That's what I'm always looking for. Something good, something entertaining.
Yeah. So I was looking at some of the books you've got recently. You seem to do a lot with Brian Haberlin. You just did Jules Verne's Lighthouse. You got Hellcop coming up. You did The Marked. Yeah. So is it a direct pipeline at this point? Does he just say, I'm doing another book? Or?
Yeah, pretty much. He's got a lot of cool ideas. Lighthouse was interesting in the fact that it was based on a Jules Verne book that I've never heard of.
Right.
And I don't think a lot of people have heard of it.
Yeah, it was new to me too. Yeah.
Yeah. And he told me what the story was, and it's kind of a pretty basic thing. It's his approach to the story. And his approach to the stories I love. The Marked was just a fabulous idea that came at the wrong time. It came just as the pandemic was blowing up, right?
Yeah.
The idea that there's witches that their spells come from their tattoos, I thought that's a great idea. That's an idea that I saw. This could be a movie. This could be a television show. And I don't usually go for those kind of things, but this one seemed to hit on that zeitgeist of there's a lot of people, not my age, but younger, that are heavily tattooed and it just seemed to fit into this era correctly. So I think that one is still, it may take a while for that one to gel, but eventually I do think it will gel. So yeah, he just comes up with all these ideas,
Now the next thing they're doing through you guys is Hellcop, right?
Yeah.
Now, and that's an older character they're bringing back.
Right.
Right.
Right. It's a character that was near and dear to Brian's heart. He just loved Hellcop, and I think it's been almost 20 years or maybe longer since Hellcop has appeared. And he just had a backlog of stories he wanted to tell. And again, it's a great concept. The concept is that they discover that hell is actually a different dimension. And so the Hellcops are trying to stop it from invading our dimension. It's like, okay, that's a good concept.
Yeah, I am always impressed by Brian and all the stuff. Aria, going back to Aria, was such an amazing book. He and Brian Holguin and Jay Anna. I don't know if what?
Anacleto.
Okay, that actually is pretty close to how working for Bleeding Cool for 5 years it got to the point where I had to spell everybody's name. So I phonetically started pronouncing them.
Yeah.
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 So
He's one of the ones that get mispronounced a lot. Him and Kurt Busiek.
Yeah.
People saying Busiek. And of course, Bill Sienkiewicz, is probably, the biggest one. When he makes a joke of it, but there you go.
I remember when Marvel put out that little pronunciation guide for all the people, and I'm thinking we really need another one of those.
Yeah. That would be good.
Yeah, I do a new a show on the Experience on Tuesday nights where we talk about the new books coming out. Kyle Northrup and I do the show, and he and I are both just dying when some of these names come up. It's like,
well, there seems to be a whole lot of kids coming out of Italy all of a sudden, which is very nice.
Yeah.
I'm working with two of them, Yolanda Zaffardino and Elsa Rombolo, and they're doing a book for me called A Thing Called Truth, which is very interesting. It's a doctor who's getting all kinds of shit ties one on one night, and falls into the back seat of her car. Right, and when she wakes up, her car is being stolen by another woman who's on a quest. She has this journal from her brother of all places throughout Europe where movies have been filmed, and so she wants to visit all these sites in the doctor's car. And so I thought, well, this is clever, and it's beautifully drawn. I just love the drawing in it. It's very, very cool.
I'll have to look at now. That you said that was called The Truth.
A Thing Called Truth.
Called Truth.
Okay. It hasn't come out yet. It'll be out in October or November.
Okay.
And then I'm working on an Image Comics timeline, which I've been working on for pretty much the whole year. And this will be a chronology of Image, and it will come out in February of 2022.
Nice. So this is actually going to be a solid, like a hardback book, or?
No, it's going to be like a prestige format book.
Okay.
I don't know what they call them these days. I prestige format. It's hold on a second. Let me see. It starts here. I don't know if you can see that or not.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So nice. It starts at Marvel, because that's where it all started.
Right.
And of course, Rob caused all kinds of trouble when he did the Executioners ad. And then it's laid out like this. Every page where everything is a double page spread. Hold on, money.
Well, that looks great.
The information's on the side. So it'll be covers, photographs, Empyrea, all kinds of stuff.
Now, what time period are you covering? I mean, are you doing all of it? Or are you doing like 20 years, or what's?
No. From the beginning at Marvel. So that's it. Actually starts in hold on a second. San Diego Comic-Con, August 4th, 1990. That's where it starts.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So it starts with this dinner that we had. It was Rob, Eric Larson, myself, Dave Olbrich, and several other people. And Rob asked Dave if he would publish him. And Dave started laughing, thinking Rob was kidding, and said, yeah, of course.
This was Malibu Comics, right?
Yes. Yeah, Dave was the editor-in-chief, I think, or publisher of Malibu at the time. And so he said, would you publish me and Eric? And Dave was just hysterically laughing at this point. And like, yeah, how about me, Eric, and Jim? Yeah. He thought Rob was kidding. Rob was not kidding. So that's really where it starts. And then it goes from there, despite what Todd says. Todd always leaves me out of it, but he was out of it initially, not me. So that's where it starts, and it ends at February 2022. So it ends in the future from now. But that's where it ends. And it just covers the whole entire 30-year span.
How big is this book going to be?
Important thing.
Yeah.
64 pages. It works. I mean, because of the columns on the side and that kind of thing, it does work.
Yeah.
It's been a hell of a, it's first I had to do all the research to pull it all together, and then all the corrections I've made, and then finding all the books and, all the stuff. I mean, I have a lot of stuff because I've kept the archives for Image for all this time. But it's been a hell of a, journey piecing it all together. Almost done.
What made you decide to do it?
I believe arrogantly or whatever that the formation of Image Comics is really important, historically important. And I've always believed that. So I kept everything. I kept all the contracts, all the inferia, all the contemporaneous notes that I made during meetings and stuff like that. I've kept everything. And I did so because I felt that it was important. And I also knew that the other guys would never do this. They wouldn't keep it. They wouldn't, They're too interested in their own legends to really see this is the real story here. But
yeah, I mean, you guys definitely changed the industry.
yeah, and it doesn't go too far into baseball, right? I mean, it if you're looking for those salacious behind the scenes stories, you're not going to get it from the timeline. But at the same time, I don't sugarcoat anything. I talk about the Gaiman and McFarlane lawsuit. It's in there. When Rob left, when Mark split, the back and forth of everything. I tried to be fair and covered everything like a historical document, like a chronology.
Now, when you were you were running Image Central for quite a few years.
5 years, yeah.
Yeah. And then you went back to Shadowline.
Right.
The one thing I remember is that you pitch to one. You don't pitch to Shadowline and then pitch to Image Central. It's kind of the vibe I got coming up is that you picked who you were going to go to. If you wanted Top Cow, you kind of pitched to them. Was that an actual thing, or was that
because I was doing creator-owned stuff? Okay, I mean, Top Cow and TMP and Skybound are all a different thing, right? But Shadowline is very similar to Image Central. Right. The difference is that Shadowline is a very small boutique, and you get personalized attention all the time because it's so small.
Yeah.
So if you've got a problem, you can pick up the phone or email, and I'll answer like immediately and try to take care of it for you, whatever it is. So that's the big difference, whether or not you need that kind of personal attention or if you like that personal attention. Mm-hmm. So what I decided was that Shadowline was not going to be a backdoor to Image. If Eric doesn't want your book, then that's it. Okay. I'm not going to take books that Eric has turned down. And our tastes are similar enough that if he turns something down, chances are good I'd turn it down too. And if not, I mean, it hasn't come up yet. It's come up a couple times where I've gotten a pitch that I thought was okay. It just didn't fit Shadowline, didn't fit what I wanted to do. So I'd slide it under Eric's nose and just tell the person, I'm going to slide this under Eric's nose. It's up to him. If he likes it, he'll get in touch. If he doesn't, he won't. Silence is an answer. There you go.
Okay. And it took me a second to realize you're talking about Eric Stevenson, not Eric Larson.
Stevenson, yeah, not Eric Larson. No.
Yeah.
I'm not that cruel. No.
Yeah. You've been doing a lot of, creator-owned work. but you haven't done much with your own characters lately. With Shadowhawk, the Pact, Normal Man.
Yeah.
Just not feeling it, or?
Yeah, actually, I just finished yesterday. Show and tell, folks. That's a cover for a new Shadowhawk book that will be coming out next year, which will be written and drawn by Philip Tan. And he will be inking this piece. Yeah. But no, I don't draw much anymore, which, I'm sure most people are thankful for. And I just don't. I enjoy doing what I'm doing, and the way I put it, and as noted before, I'm not a sports guy, but the sports analogy is this: when you're young, you play on the field, and when you get older, you coach. And I'm in my coaching phase, and that's the easiest way to explain it.
Now, you said that Philip Tan is going to be both writing and drawing?
Yeah, he came up with an interesting concept. He's been a big Shadowhawk fan forever. Mm-hmm. And he's always wanted to do one. And, he's always told me, if you do something new, let me know. So he came up with an interesting idea. It's going to be a one-shot. That's all, one and done. Mm-hmm. And that's it. So I said, okay, you can do this, because I know I'm not gonna.
Now, I'm a big Shadowhawk fan. I got to ask, is it still Paul? Because we brought back Paul.
Right.
Is it Paul?
Yes.
Good. Cool. Okay. Yeah.
Although I like the kid too. So.
Oh yeah, the kid was great. But I got to help bring Paul back, so that's why I'm really personal with that now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I believe it's Paul. I haven't seen the plot yet. He's finishing up some assignments, and then he's going to send me a detailed plot, so I can look at it and tell him okay, here's where you're going wrong. Here's what you need to cut. Blah blah blah. Which I don't know if I did that to your plots or not. I usually do. Eric Stevenson. I gave him his very first professional writing assignment, and it was in a backup feature in Guardians of the Galaxy, the second annual. Mm-hmm. And we didn't tell anybody that he was writing it, not me. I think we did finally at the end. But at any rate, he brought it to me, and I just blasted through it with, a red pen. Just said, here's where you're going wrong, blah, blah, blah. You need to focus here. You've left this hanging. You need to bring it to fruition or get rid of it, one of the two. He said I was brutal, but he learned a lot. And we're still friends.
I don't remember you being too bad on my stuff, but the first project I sold was to Metal Hurlant, and I had an editor who was also an old friend that did the same type of thing, where he just totally eviscerated the plot I had and gave me some ideas that completely changed the story.
Yeah.
But when I looked at it, I went, that's really good. I liked the changes. So I worked with them, and, they ended up buying that. And that was my first freelance work. So,
the thing is that a good editor will help you. He'll see the weaknesses in your plot. He'll help you work through them, because a lot of times we hit a wall. We can't go any further, and we're real reluctant to kill our babies, the things that we absolutely love, but don't work. And it's a different pair of eyes, which helps enormously, because they're not as close emotionally to it. And a good editor knows when to get out of the way and let you do your thing. In my case, I tended to, when people were working on my stuff like Shadowhawk, I tended to only hire people that I trusted, because it was too much work to do otherwise. If I'm going to write the damn thing, then why am I hiring this person to do it?
Yeah. I think most of what I've come across are two types of editors, and the ones I love are the ones who are out to make your story better.
Right.
Then there's been a few that have been, they're really butting heads with you because it's how they would write it compared to how you'd write it.
Right. That's a bad editor.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a bad editor. A good editor wants to make the story good. Has nothing to do with you or with them or with anything. They want to make the story better.
Right.
And they'll do that. And I had someone I was training as an editor for a couple of years, and they had said to me, I don't know what to do. Got this phone call. Don't know what to do. I got the script and everything's perfect. There's no spelling errors. There's no grammatical errors. The story flows. What do I do? I said to call them up and say thank you. And they were like, but I didn't do anything. I didn't earn my money on this. I go, you read it. You looked at it. You approved it. That's it. That's your job.
Yeah. And you earned your money by hiring the right person.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. When I got into doing novel writing, I got an editor who encouraged me, and it's the only reason I can successfully write a novel, because she comes in and just with the red line going like crazy through the book and makes it better. And, you know, I don't think I would finish any kind of prose piece without her reading it now. Yeah. But, you know, if she gives me a page back that doesn't have any marks on it, I assume she missed that page. You know? And we'll go back to her going, did you miss 31? Because
yeah. Yes,
yeah. Of course. So, well, with Shadowline, you said you've got a thing called Truth, and you've got Hellcop coming out. What else do you got on the horizon? Anything new from Bomb Queen or, you know, Jimmy's?
No, I think Bomb Queen has seen it today. I think we're putting that aside for a while. Jimmy's going through a creative slump, so, you know, we just leave him there. I have a new book coming, although I don't know when. Very, very slow. But the pages are just stunningly beautiful. It's called Dead Romans, and it's by two newcomers, and it's just gorgeous. It's going to knock everybody's socks off when they see it. It's that nice looking. But other than that, I don't think there's any other books coming up. The Shadowhawk one shot, and the timeline. And I don't want to work too hard. I'm too old. Just like, you know, it's like I've so a couple of books. That's all we really need. You know, Shadowline is designed to be a very small boutique. And I'm not interested in producing 150 different comics with that Superman and Wolverines and shit.
Well, so, all right, I'd like to talk a little bit about some of your previous work, because, I mean, a lot of it is in the current news. I've always wondered what your thoughts are on the James Gunn Guardians of the Galaxy movies with, you know, because I was serious when I said that to me, you made Guardians of the Galaxy cool. I remember reading it, but you used the OG Guardians, you know, Yondu and Charlie 27 and, you know, Nikki and Starhawk and stuff. And we got a little bit of that in the second movie. They introduced some of the characters in cameo and stuff. But what do you think of the James Gunn take on it? And, you know.
Well, the first thing you have to do is remove yourself from it, right? What I like, I mean, you know, it's like I saw a thing from Steve Englehart about Mantis, that this isn't the Mantis he created, and it's not. You know, it's a completely different character. I thought what James Gunn did was fine and entertaining. It wasn't my Guardians. It was, I think, Keith Giffen's Guardians. But with Groot and Rocket, which I know a lot of people didn't like, but I thought was brilliant. You know, a tree and a raccoon. You know, that's right up my alley. You know, it's like that's one of those things. Like, I wish I'd have thought of that. You know, putting them in there. I didn't like Yondu. I really did not like Yondu, but I justified it by saying it wasn't my Yondu. This is a Yondu that existed 1,000 years before my Yondu. Yondu made me cringe. Other than that, I enjoyed it very much, and I hated a lot of the music. That's my age coming through.
Okay. And then the other thing I was going to talk to you about is What If, because you did a lot of What If comics back in Marvel.
Yeah.
The first, actually, I had someone ask on one of my other shows asked trying to figure out what the question or what it is. What is the guiding question or the guiding statement of the TV series? So going back, what was the guiding question for the comic series? What made it a what if story?
What if something diverged at a certain point? Now, I think they did that in the very first episode of What If. There's the divergent point. Okay?
Yes.
When Carter, Betty Carter, is that her name?
Peggy Carter.
Betty Carter, yeah. When she decided to stay, that was the divergent point, and the Watcher pointed that out.
Yeah.
So in a what if, the question becomes, well, what if this happened as opposed to that? And there you go. It's that divergent point, whatever it is. What if Spider-Man actually joined the Fantastic Four way back in Spider-Man #1? What would have happened that would have changed things? What if the Hulk always had the brain of Bruce Banner? How would that have changed things? I did one where what if the Fantastic Four had died initially, and the Avengers had to face Galactus? What would have happened?
I don't actually remember that one. Now I got to look for that one.
Number 41, I think. Yeah, it was the last one I did. And it was based on, FF48, And it started in FF1 with them crashing and dying. And then the Avengers came together just like they did normally because that had nothing to do with the Fantastic Four. So that happened normally. But then Galactus came down, and there was a completely different power set, and completely different individuals that had to do with Galactus. So the outcome was different. So that's how it would go. I mean, one of them, they talk about a great pitch. The editor for What If, Craig Anderson, was coming to visit my studio. And Rob and I were off and on studio mates. And Rob's told me, he goes, I have a great idea for a what if. What? Told me, and I said, you got to tell that to Craig. So I said, Rob's got a great idea. He goes, okay, what? And Rob goes, what if Wolverine was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.? And Craig's like, do it. It's like, just the title alone did it. There was a fan that wrote in a letter. I did credit him at the end of the story. But what if the Fantastic Four all had the same power? Well, that's interesting. What if they had the same power? So I decided to do it as a series of short vignettes. And it worked out pretty well. So there you go. That's how it works. Or doesn't.
Yeah. Did you ever have one you pitched and they went, no, we can't do that one?
No. Every one I pitched, they did. And they threw a couple at me. That the first one I did, which was number 3, it was about Captain America dying or not dying. I can't remember. But that one was pitched at me. Do this. Okay, all right. The Atlantis Attacks one was pitched at me as well. So I was like, okay. So I got to read all these books. So yeah.
Do you have any personal favorites from that run?
I have quite a few. What if the Vision had destroyed the Avengers? That was in number 5. Mm-hmm. What if the X-Men had stayed in Asgard was a favorite. The Fantastic Four one, the Avengers facing Galactus. Those are probably my favorites.
Yeah, I've got a good number.
What if Wolverine was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yeah. Yeah, like I said on Facebook the other day, I've got a stack of those because I was going through my storage and I went, well, I'm just going to take one of my long boxes, and it happened to be all the what if issues that I had. So I've been looking through those same ones recently.
Yeah, I mean, the TV show. I think the TV show is kind of hit and miss, but when they focus, it's good. Actually, I thought the second one, the Guardians of the Galaxy one, was probably the worst so far.
I'm going to agree with you on that because as much as it was nice to hear Chadwick Boseman again,
yes,
it really just felt like, hey, how wonderful would the world be if, and where my favorite was actually the third one with Hank Pym going crazy and killing the Avengers.
Actually, my kids had a hard time with that one. And I said, no, Hank Pym is always, he's always been a little off.
Yeah, he's been on the edge. Yeah. And as Yellow Jacket, that was always the thing.
Yeah.
He was, So.
Yeah. Actually, my Aaron's girlfriend made some sort of comment about Marvel Zombies, the Marvel Zombies one. And I said, oh, no, there was a whole series with Marvel Zombies. And she had no idea that there was. So she thought that one was being gratuitous. But, most people that watch these shows and these movies have never read any of the comics and have no desire to. So you have to look at it as a different world.
Yeah, I get that from my girlfriend a lot. I'll tell her, oh, yeah, this is coming out. And she's like, that's a horrible name. Well, it was a great name in the 60s, and then we've all just kind of grown up with it, so we accept it. But, yeah, looking back, maybe one of these names is not that good, or, But, yeah. All right.
Yeah, there are things we accept.
Yeah.
That,
we grew up with them, and
yeah, and that a citizen would just go, "Are you kidding?" Yeah.
All right. I'm going to jump over to the Shadowhawk because, again, I love the character. When Image was forming, a lot of the founders did books in line with what they were famous for over at Marvel.
Yeah, we had 3 X-Men teams.
Yeah, I mean, Jim Lee did an X-Men book, Mark Silvestri did, a team book, and Rob did a team book.
Right.
Spawn, I mean, that front cover looked like a Spider-Man cover on the first issue of Spawn. I mean, it was Ken Stacy, right?
Yeah, Stacy did the coloring on it. Yeah. Todd had designed it and everything and drawn it, and then Stacy came in and did everything like a painting.
Yeah. Now, Larson went back to an old childhood hero that he wanted to do.
Yeah.
You were coming off Guardians of the Galaxy, and you ended up on Shadowhawk. How did that happen?
Well, if you look, and I don't advise this, but if you go through my career, what you see is that everything I did was completely different from the last thing that I did. So there was Normal Man, and then there was Myth Adventures, and then there was, I think, the Marvel work. So What If and Guardians of the Galaxy and Shadowhawk, and there was the Vignettes book in there, autobiographical underground stuff. So what I always tried to do was something different because I get bored really easily. So I figured I'd try my hand at what Steve Bissett always called a Ditko roof runner, which I always thought was a brilliant description. Just to try it, just to see it. As it turned out, it wasn't my forte, but you don't know until you try it, So. Yeah, I mean, if you look at it year by year or project by project, the Guardians, Shadowhawk, A Touch of Silver, they're all completely different one from the next.
Right.
Yet they're all kind of the same whole.
Well, I get to me, comics is the one medium where you don't have to pick a style or a genre. You know, you don't have to be a horror guy,
Right.
you know, and you don't have to be the comedy guy. You know, you can be whatever. I mean, that's the one thing where you go outside of that. You write novels. Everybody expects you to do the same style of novel.
In comics too. I mean, I think it was Marv Wolfman or maybe Tom DeFalco who had said that they really enjoyed the work that they did on Crazy, the humor stuff. You know, and you know, I mean, taking Marv Wolfman as a good example, he's done great superhero work, but he's also done horror work and mystery stuff, and you know, you can do it. People don't expect it, you know, but you can do it. I mean, if you're so inclined. So, you know, I was just that inclined, you know, probably because I couldn't do anything really well. So I did everything.
I think I'm following your footsteps that way.
Well, the thing is you should take your work seriously, but not yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you should always remember, you know, you're that idiot you see every morning in the mirror, you know, and it's like, you know, as long as you do that, you're okay.
Cool. All right. I got a couple more minutes here. I'm curious. Is there a character from either Marvel or DC that you wish you had a chance to work on, or just, you know, like, I got that story in my mind. Like, for me, it's Daredevil. I've got a Daredevil story that I've had in the back of my mind that I'm just waiting to be in front of the right editor and go, this story. You know, do you have one of those?
Craig Anderson, again, the editor of What If and on the Guardians, called me up. Steve Englehart was leaving the Silver Surfer, and Jim Starlin was coming on. But Craig thought he had like one book in between. And so he called me up and he goes, "You ever had any Silver Surfer stories?" And I said, "Not really." I said, "Just give me a day. Let me see if I can come up with something." So I came up with about 10 different ideas, and I pitched them at him. And one of them was, I said, has anyone ever done a Surfer story where he turns the power cosmic within himself as opposed to from without? And the concept or the conceit of it was that a microscopic virus went in through his mouth and affected him and was driving him crazy. So what he had to do was basically meditate and reach a position of Zen where he turned the power cosmic within and expelled the virus from himself, which nobody had ever done before, which I thought was kind of weird. You know, it's like, he seems like the perfect character to be doing that with.
Yeah.
One story. So then he called me up and said, "Okay, we got another issue we need, you know, what do you want to do for it?" I said, "How about the Surfer meets the Impossible Man?" And we go through the whole entire story with the Surfer doing a slow burn until he finally loses his temper, which is something the Surfer never did, you know. And the editor thought that was funny. The problem with that particular, and the two issues followed each other. I don't remember what numbers they were, but